Happy New Year, everyone! We are back to discuss Nintendo in 2025. Yes, I know we didn't do a year in review this year. Just didn't work out timing-wise. But we are here to give our predictions due to popular demand. I saw many people asking, where is it? So here we are, a day or two later than usual. But we are going to be talking about everything Nintendo we know and don't know so far, which is quite a bit, actually, in 2025, including, Switch 1, Switch 2, and anything else outside of games as well. Joining us as usual is Tom and Don, of course, but also we have a recent addition to the channel with Nick Steftendo, or Nick from Steftendo, I should be saying. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty optimistic about this year. Obviously, we only know a handful of games from Nintendo, but I am, like I said, optimistic, hopeful. Hopefully, it's another 2017 year, but who knows if that's going to happen again.
Oh, that's great. I love the efficiency. I didn't even ask what you thought of 2025. You're already on top of it. This is great. You should be hosting this thing. Well, it's good having you here, Nick. In case, for anyone who doesn't know, Nick's been doing a lot of our recent shorts, especially around Sonic, and has been killing it there. And make sure to check out Nick's own YouTube channel, which I'll link in the description below. So, alright, so sounds like you're pretty excited for 2025, Nick?
Yeah, I'm, like I said, optimistic. I mean, if they can pull off 2017 again, there is so much variety in 2017. I mean,
yep.
Again, I'm hopeful, so who knows?
It's a good point. I think 2017, honestly, for me, might still be the high mark of the Switch. So Switch 2 can, at least match that. I think we're in pretty good shape, at least for that launch year. Don, how are you feeling about 2025?
Good. I mean, we mostly know for Switch, we know a handful of games. It's mostly unknown at this point. Like, anything we speculate is complete hearsay or we don't know. So, honestly, that's sort of exciting because we went into previous years sort of at least knowing a few things, or at least have a general idea of where this year is going. After Xenoblade and up to Xenoblade, we don't know much. We know a few games, and that's mostly it.
Yeah, and even surrounding those other games, we don't really even know what's going on with them. Metroid Prime 4 was only relatively recently finally shown off. Yeah. And I'm still skeptical whether that's only a Switch 1 game or not, And then Pokemon Legends ZA, we know almost nothing about outside of maybe, some of the leaks or whatever.
Which is really unprecedented for the Pokemon company, because they usually are ones who do pretty often updates. And this is the longest we've been since an initial reveal, which is now almost a year ago. There's been nothing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
It's been kind of radio silent for them, which is unusual, especially since we know they have a project in the works for the Switch, so it's not like they're not supporting the current platform anymore. So that'll be interesting to see what exactly is going on with them. Tom, how are you feeling about Nintendo in 2025?
Well, pretty excited. Last year, it had a lot of unique experiments, but at the same time, it kind of showed they're conserving their strength in a way for 2025. And already I know I'm getting Metroid Prime 4 to play. I mean, that's enough alone, but the new console and what potentially lies on the horizon, super excited.
It's a good point. It's not too often we enter what's presumably the final year of a console, or at least final major year for a console, because I'm not sure they're going to kill off the Switch like they usually do for their other systems. But it's not too often we enter a new generation year with still a major title left on the current platform. We did have it with the Wii U, of course, with Breath of the Wild, but Metroid Prime 4 is it's also a big one, and that's exciting to find out more. And I'll be curious to see what time, what point that's actually going to be releasing, this year. As for myself, in 2025, I honestly don't even, I feel nothing right now. I'm not feeling a whole lot of anything, to be honest. I think only because I'm holding out on what actually is going, what exactly is a Switch 2? It's such a nebulous state right now that, especially based with the leaks and, well, to some degree, it's actually not that nebulous for the hardware, and hardware itself isn't all that exciting to me right now, but I'm hoping that there's more that we don't know. But of course, it's always going to come down to the games. And the thing that I'm most intrigued by, of course, is the lack of exciting games we had in 2024, as you're kind of hinting at, Tom.
Yeah.
2024, I wasn't too thrilled by with Nintendo, and I'm hoping that's because, as you were saying, they're holding out they're holding on to the big stuff besides Metroid Prime 4 for Switch 2.
I will have a very contrary opinion on this. I really liked, actually, 2024.
I liked it. I'm just saying, they can still do even better. And,
So, let's talk about Switch 1, or what we know of Switch 1 right now, because again, this is presumably its final year as the only Nintendo console that's active. Right now we know 4 games, I forget if I mentioned them, but they are Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Metroid Prime 4, and Pokemon Legends Z to A. And that's, it's cool that we know of some games already, but only one of those I'm really personally excited for myself, because 2 of those are ports or, modest remasters, which, I could play those right now if I really cared to. I actually just played a bunch of Donkey Kong Country Returns already for all those comparison videos I've been making, so I feel like I've already had my fill of the HD version, despite it not being in HD.
At least Monolith is continuing that trend of adding new story content to with their remasters,
That's true.
which they also did with the first game. So
Right,
at least
that's
for
good.
people who already love that game already, there's also new stuff to be excited about.
Right. So what do you think of Switch as we enter this its final solo year?
It's interesting, right? Because, like I said, I'm really interested in X because for me it's sort of a weird mid-tier game, but also like the new DLC or the new story content makes me really interested where they're going. Because for people who don't know, and I wouldn't be surprised by saying this, it ended on somewhat of a cliffhanger, and they never follow up on that, and they kind of left it hanging in the Wii U period. Then the game's multiplayer died, and they never come back to it at all. So that will be very interesting if they actually revisit the cliffhanger and actually tell us what's going on, or they lead up to something else. But that's kind of hard to tell at this point. And then the other thing for me, and I'll be honest, I'm not that interested in Prime 4. I'm more interested in Pokemon ZA. Once again, it feels weird we haven't heard anything about it for the last 10 months.
Yeah, it's they're holding out. They're holding on to it for some reason. I wonder if it's at all to do with Switch 2. Like, I think there was something from the leak suggesting that maybe that there could be a Switch 2 version. I don't remember. Maybe I'm off base on that. But yeah, in any case, like that's a big mystery right there. What exactly is this game going to be?
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. How about you, Nick? How are you feeling about the current platform?
I mean, on one hand, I'm like ready to move on. But on the other hand, I'm just like, there's still so much to play on the Switch. But I have a Steam Deck, so like every once in a while, like I'll be playing something on Steam Deck, and I'm like, oh, I just wish this was on Switch, or I'm hoping that it's gonna be on Switch too. Like for example, like Marvel Rivals, I've been playing so much of that, and my hope for that is that it comes out on the Switch 2 within the first year. Because you look at something like Overwatch, and it took them, I think, 3 or 4 years to get that on the original Switch. So I'm hoping that like third-party games like that make the quick jump as soon as possible for the Switch 2. But yeah, with the games that you guys mentioned, like Donkey Kong Country Returns, like I feel kind of burnt out by it because this would be the 3rd time I'm purchasing it. Like I have it on my Wii, I have it on my 3DS, so I really need it for a 3rd time. And then something like Xenoblade, like I'm not into Xenoblade, but this might make me get into it. But again, like it might just be something that like, oh, I'm hungry for new Nintendo games, so that might be the reason for me to purchase it. And at the same time, like it's coming out at like a weird time, March 20th. Like that's the very end of the financial fiscal year, right? Like doesn't it end at the end of March or something like that? So I just feel like it's like a weird time for that to come out, especially with what the president saying that, oh, the Switch 2 will be announced before the end of the fiscal year. So I feel like the March 20th time spot is just a weird position for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I have, but I suspect that I have a suspicion we'll be finding out about the Switch 2 sooner than later, and I think by the time that I think the reveal of the Switch 2 will probably feel fairly far in the past by the time Xenoblade actually ends up launching. But who knows? In any case, yeah, it is kind of odd that like we're gonna be in the hype cycle for the next system, but we still have this big game coming out to the current system, which I think is actually kind of cool to some degree, because we're not gonna have that drought that we often do with Nintendo platforms.
But,
and
but also like it's more helpful now that Switch 2 is more iterative and you can play backwards compatible games on it. So like having the short gap between games that released on Switch 1 and Switch 2 is actually pretty decent.
Yeah. That's true too. Like it's going to have full backwards compatibility, so which is great. It's not locked to your current platform. It's like you're wasting money by spending it on the current Switch. So especially based on recent rumors suggesting that, or leaks, that the eShop will be the same on Switch 2. We'll see if that actually ends up being the case or not. Tom, is there anything here in the Switch 1 lineup that's exciting you for 2025?
Well, part of like Xenoblade Chronicles X is one that I missed out on, and one that I've heard is like the best one, or the best one to like just play standalone. Is that right, Don? So
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited that, like, as Nick was saying, a chance to get into the series. But part of that will be the timing. Like, Nintendo Switch came out Friday, March 3rd, 2017. And that's March 20th. It's like, if there's other things, if Switch 2 is out around that time, like, I don't think I'll have time to be playing like a 80-hour game or something like that. But yeah, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD I'll probably skip because I could probably enjoy still on Wii. But for anyone
with
who
all
missed
the
it,
original visual effects too,
Yes.
some of which are missing.
yeah, and but for anyone who missed it, you know, and it's craving a bit more Donkey Kong, sure, dive in. It's great for them. And like with Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZDA, we'll just find out what that backwards compatibleness is, and if there'll be any upgrades on Switch 2, I suppose. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have a suspicion that there's more to Metroid Prime 4 that we don't. I mean, obviously there's a ton we don't know, but in relation to the platforms, I feel like that's going to be a cross-generation title. Maybe I'm off base, but in any case, for me personally, that's a game. That's probably the only game here I'm actually really interested in myself. I've been burning out Pokemon for like 20 years, and then the other two games, I could play them right now if I really wanted to, and I have in one of those cases. So Metroid Prime 4 is one I'm most excited for, but the reveal for that game, like, it didn't do a whole lot for me. It looked good, but like, it's the exact same type of gameplay we've already seen, and I was hoping for something a little bit more from it. Now that's probably just because they didn't show us a whole lot of the game, and I'm hoping that there's a lot more that they're holding on to that we don't know.
It's when we last discussed this, right? Like, I feel personally that they haven't shown me the one thing that makes me really interested in that game yet. Like, they showcased us the pitch of the game. Like, this is the game. This is what it is in its basics, but you don't know anything else further. Until like a second trailer, I don't have it yet. I don't have that spark yet where I'm really interested in a game.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like the one thing is just that it's a Metroid Prime sequel. That's not enough for me. I need something else. Like, show me why this game took 7 years in total now, even longer by the time it comes out. Actually, are we at year? We're gonna be at year 8 soon. Anyways, so I hope that there's a lot more. I suspect that there is, because they only showed us like a very tiny chunk of the game. And to their credit, we actually did get actual gameplay for the reveal, which they kind of needed to. But I'm excited to see what else they're holding on to. And Retro Studios is an amazing developer, and I'm excited to see the potential for this game, assuming that there's a big element that they're hiding from us, which I suspect there has to be. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, let's use that as a segue, I think. Well, actually, before I do, what are we thinking for the timing of Metroid Prime 4? Like, is anyone else on board with me thinking that it could be a cross-generational title, like, Breath of the Wild was?
Same way, I also believe that Legend CA could be. Like, both of them are such in a weird flux scenario that either scenario could be completely possible.
Yeah, I agree with Don. Like, that's why we haven't seen Legend CA yet. They'll probably focus on just showing it with the best graphics possible first for the biggest bang for their buck. Maybe Metroid Prime 4 is similar on them, but like, you never know. Like, if it was just 4K on Switch 2, I'd be like, all right, that's fair. Like, it doesn't have to do anything crazy. Maybe like a few more effects. But.
Yeah, I think they're probably dragging that out because they're trying to find the right time to release Metroid Prime 2 and 3. Because we still haven't got those yet. We have Prime 1 remastered, but where's 2 and 3?
At this point, I'm almost thinking they're not going to happen. Like, I almost wonder, because they're not quite as universally loved as the first one, I almost wonder if they're like, well, we got the first one out there, the one that everyone really cared about, and we're going to make everyone just wait for Metroid Prime 4 at this point. It's possible, maybe they'll release them after, I don't know. It is very strange, though. But
the crazy thing is that they stuck with the name Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Like, if they're not releasing 2 and 3 and someone picks up 1 and then they go straight to 4, they're going to be like, wait a minute, where's the other 2 games here?
That's a good point, actually.
That reminds me of the weird thing that this is completely off random, but Metroid Prime Remasters had a Dutch localization. So it was playable in my own language, which was kind of strange after the original never being that way. So who knows?
Right.
Maybe they're still working on those. Who knows, right?
So, if it ends up being a cross-generational title, I wonder if it could possibly be a launch title for the Switch 2. So that's my segue into Switch 2. How are we feeling about Switch 2 right now? Like, there's been a lot of leaks, a lot of rumors, and the leaks, they seem to be picking up steam. Like, they are coming almost every day at this point. We got the entire motherboard leaked a couple days ago. There's been rumors about this system, and we basically know what the thing already looks like. So I'm curious, based on that, and it seems to look very similar to the first Switch, which on the one hand is probably a good idea because the Switch is a massive success. On the other hand, it's very much seemingly a known factor, barring any surprises Nintendo's hiding, like whatever that C button does. But how are we feeling about it? Are you excited about what you've seen? Are you excited to find out more about the system? Like, were you hoping for anything different?
I am never that excited when it comes to hardware. Like, here's the thing. Like, it's an iterative console. It's literally the Switch 2. We constantly keep calling it. We don't even know if it's called that, but let's assume so. It's called the Switch 2. Like, that doesn't excite me. I just want to know about the games.
Yeah, like, I think it's going to be hard to recapture that moment in 2016 where it was like when they showed it off for the first time, like, whoa, this is better than the Wii U. Like, I can take this wherever. This thing looks cool. It looks sleek. Yeah, like, we're at the point where it's like, okay, this is just Switch 2. Like, show us the games. What are those going to be? That's what I'm going to be playing on this thing for the next, almost 8 to 10 years, probably.
Yeah, hopefully, I suppose. Which to that point, though, like, kind of makes me a little disappointed that based on the leaks and everything else, that it doesn't seem to be much different or different enough. Like, we're gonna be stuck by the end of the Switch 2's generation. It could have been like 16 years we've been playing on the same basic form factor, and right now I'm not getting the excitement I've had. So to your point, Don, I totally get that. It's always about the games in the end, of course.
Yeah.
But with some past Nintendo platforms, including even Wii U, I remember being excited, thinking of the potential for how they could use the new interface, whether it's the Wii Remote or the gamepad. With the Wii U, I think they often didn't fully utilize as much as I would have liked them to. But, at least it was the excitement of, ooh, something new. What can they do with this? And Switch 2 does not seem to be delivering anything like that from what we can tell so far.
I think I had a similar feeling with the original Switch. Not to say that it wasn't exciting. Like, the good thing that the Switch does is playing games. That's the one thing that's good at it. I've been conditioned to think the one thing the Switch 2 will be good at is playing games. Because the side stuff didn't really matter all that much on Switch. Like, Wii U, 3DS, Wii, they were consoles with a ton of different features. And they sort of distracted from it being a games console. Like, it's solely what Nintendo has conditioned us to be. We think it's going to be purely a games console.
Yeah,
right.
I'm hoping that they go to, since like the console seems somewhat the same to all of us. Like, I'm hoping that they bring back those features from like the Wii U or 3DS. Like, bring back, like, what is it, Street Pass or Mi Finder or like the Mi Plaza. Like, please bring stuff like that back. I love our Miiverse. Like, I love interacting with people that way. Like, it was goofy. It was something unique that both PlayStation and Xbox weren't doing.
Yeah, I think that's why people get constantly upset. For example, there's no music on the eShop, or we still have 2 basic themes 7 years later.
Well, that's Nick. At that point, yes. Like, the hardware itself, probably boring. I'm probably not gonna get my wirelessly beaming to the TV instead of having to wear cables. But like going to the Wii eShop the other day with Andre, and like seeing the loading screen, like Mario going along, hitting the coins. Like, where's the fun? Like, I want some of the fun back in the system. I hope they do it.
Yeah.
They can do it a new way. Surprise us. Like, I hope they feel confident enough they can do that again.
And I get it, right? Like, they try to make with the Switch a system UI that has less than 1 MB footprint. Cool, I guess. But you cannot do much else with that beyond that if you want to add stuff to it. Like, they have the opportunity with more empowered hardware to do something cool with that. And I'm not sure that they will.
Yeah, especially with, presumably much quicker memory and, all that, a lot of the other generation systems like PS5 and Xbox Series X. And I will say, like, I'm not a huge fan of the other platforms' OSs, and I'll take the Switches any day of the week over those, which I find to be a bit messy and cumbersome. But at the same time, it does lack that Nintendo charm. And I'm pretty sure even the Wii channel or the Wii Shop channel even loaded quicker on the Wii, Tom, than my eShop does on my Switch these days. It's so slow. I don't get it.
Yeah, because, they went back to web-based, which is a very good move after having integrated eShops on Wii U and 3DS.
Nick, to your point though, I would love some kind of like new community-based feature, and I think a lot of people are hoping that's what the C button represents, like chat or community or something, but we don't know what that's for yet. Like, and I'm excited to find out. Like, hopefully it's something neat and kind of, if not changes the way we play games, at least changes the way we can, talk to each other about games. And I remember some of the most exciting things from the Wii U's early hype cycle before it was even known as a Wii U. I think it was Project Cafe then. Is a lot of people, or I saw some outlets putting out what they had heard about it having like a lot of community-based features, and it did in the Miiverse, in the sense of Miiverse, but didn't go nearly as far as I had heard, as some of the reports had suggested. And I hope maybe this is the chance for them to do something different with this. I don't think we're going to see the return of Miiverse, but I don't think that necessarily needs to happen for it to have something interesting. You touched on, of course, the Mii Plaza, for instance, and the other social features of the 3DS. Maybe they could do something that we're not even thinking of.
I wonder how they're thinking about it, because if you look now, it's currently at the Switch, they removed the Twitter support, and they said at some point we could just randomly also remove Facebook support from the original Switch.
Yeah.
So it makes me think that they are doing something, even though if don't know what it really is going to look like.
What I always thought would be cool, and maybe this is a bad idea, is like it just offers support for the traditional social media networks. You post to it, but then there's a feed exclusive for your friends that you only see what they posted from their Switch. So you get like an exclusive gaming feed that ties into the social media networks. But I think that was a part of a problem with Miiverse. It was just like self-contained to the device, which is also really slow, which didn't help. So, but I think broadening out to both like support for whatever media you want, social media you want, but also so that it also acts as its own social media at the same time. I don't know, maybe there's something there.
No, but to go off of that, like, I think one of the most underutilized features of the Switch, or at least it's not even on the Switch, is the Nintendo Switch app. Like, there's only 4 games that have any features on there. I think it's like Splatoon 2, 3, Mario Kart, and Animal Crossing, and that's it. It's
right.
like, and to get photos and videos off your Switch onto your phone is kind of cumbersome. Like, you take it, like, you have to look at the QR code, and then like sets up a separate network, and then you download it. Like, it's not user friendly at all. So like, if I can just click a button, send it directly to my phone, and like text my friend, or maybe there's like an app in there or a setting in there where my friends can see what I've been doing, because I love taking screenshots. Like, I have such a good time with it.
That's a perfect point. Like, yeah, the app, like I almost never hop into the app unless I absolutely need to for some reason, which is very rare. And I think there's a lot of potential there with how many people probably have the app. And Nintendo, and we have seen Nintendo like try to kind of increase their stickiness, outside of just like playing their games, whether it's through the apps. We also have Nintendo Music now. Of course, there are, if you want to count theme parks and movies, like they're broadening in all kinds of ways. I think improving the app could be a big part of that if they add some kind of social component. And also, related, making a friend list that actually does something. Like so few games actually support or make good use of that friend list. That'd be a good place to start, I think.
We just had that Nintendo Music app, as you said. Maybe there is some potential for some sort of social app that they could tie into that is tied into your Nintendo Switch subscription, like Nintendo NSO.
Yeah, I do think them with removing Twitter support and Facebook, though, it does seem like they were trying to do their own thing at some point, or at least preparing for that, because they don't also realize that Twitter is not the future anymore.
And they haven't added any additional social media support, right? Like
No.
you said, they took away Twitter and they took away Facebook, and there's nothing else to get it from, right? Or upload it to.
The only thing they've added, there wasn't a few updates ago, is that you can now plug in a USB-C cable to your computer and now download directly screenshots and videos from there. And it's all in a folder system, depending on the game, but that's mostly what they've done to add stuff to that album feature.
Yeah. So hopefully they improve that, because I think there's a big opening for them potentially to do something more interesting with the community. I remember posting on the, like, what was it, the Insider message boards, like way back in the day when Nintendo used to run those. Good times. I remember that was, and when they shut those down, a lot of people were saddened by it. But I was thinking too is, one thing I think in a more general sense for Switch 2. Yeah. I'm curious what you guys think about this. I'm not I'm both hoping and expecting it to not be the typical like complete handoff from Switch 1 to Switch, from generation to generation. Like I think Nintendo continues to support the Nintendo Switch. I think this is kind of like a Game Boy Color situation where we're gonna get games both that work on both platforms and also eventually, if not right off the bat, games that will only work on Switch 2. But I think it would be so silly of them to just completely cut off Switch 1, a massive demographic that Switch 2 won't match, if ever, for years to come. And I think making games that are cross-compatible with enhancements on Switch 2, especially with their DLSS upscaling that is presumably in the system, that should allow for 4K visuals without much more intensive hardware overhead. I just think that makes sense.
Yeah,
How
to go
many-
off of that, like, go ahead, Tom.
I was just gonna say, how many years of overlap was PlayStation 4 and 5? Like 3, 4?
I feel like it so overlaps. Like, I just
Yeah,
have PS5 like this
exactly.
year. Like, you can still get stuff for PS4.
Yeah.
I think for Nintendo games, ultimately, and this is the big part about it, it really doesn't matter because there's so much the champions of optimization of their games. I think for third parties, like going to Switch 2 matters more. Nintendo could be pumping out games for the next 2 years still on Switch 1 and Switch 2, and they would be completely 100% fine.
Which would be great too, especially for those who either can't get a Switch 2 right away, don't want to, or maybe they're sold out, maybe it's too expensive. Who knows? There's any number of reasons why people won't grab a Switch 2 right away, just that people are still buying Switch 1 8 years after its release nearly. So yeah, I think I kind of hope that they do that because
I do think they will streamline the Switch 1 lineup a little bit. I think they will get rid of the OLED.
Oh, so like,
it's a
Maybe go
bigger-
Because if the form factor to the Switch 1 OLED and the Switch 2 is similar, you need to get one of them to avoid confusion, I feel.
And it's a premium option, so if you get rid of it, like Switch 2
Becomes
there's
the
a
premium option, yeah.
what's the OLED costing now? Is it $350?
I think it's still
US?
$350.
$350. So it's $50 more than the standard Switch, isn't
Yeah.
that right? Okay. That's an interesting thought. Yeah, because they may want to have a bigger price difference too between Switch 1 and Switch 2 because I mean, Nintendo's not dropped the price of Switch at all, which is remarkable. I don't think there's any other platform where they've ever done that for. 8 years after launch. And so the question is, will they lower the price of Switch 1 after Switch 2, or will they just keep it as is, with Switch 2 presumably costing even more? And actually, there's a good question. What do we think for price point for this thing?
I think everyone throws the numbers around for like $400, right?
Yeah.
Like, if they do anything close to a PS5, PS5 is what, $500 right now? You
Yeah.
get the Slim for maybe $50 cheaper than that, but if you're hitting $450 or $500, I think a lot of people are kind of gonna shy away because they're gonna look at this thing and have it standing right next to the PS5. And it's like, oh my god, like even though like that shouldn't be like their point of purchase, but I know a lot of people are gonna jump to them and be like, oh, let me go for this more powerful, good-looking thing over this dinky little Switch 2.
I think you need to go 400 and drop the OLED. That's honestly my feeling on it, because once again you also limited the pool of like regular Switch 1 output. The Switch Lite and the regular Switch are still regular sellers, and the Switch OLED has been consistent, but it would destroy the market if an OLED and a Switch 2 are both on the market together. So I think you do it that way.
Yeah, it's a good point too, especially with the rumors that Switch 2 using an LCD. It could be confusing if you have the Switch OLED out there, then you have the Switch 2, which isn't an OLED presumably.
No.
So yeah, I myself am expecting. I think it's going to be $400 at a minimum. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they push it a little bit higher. That way they have room to drop the price later on, especially if this tariff thing ends up happening, which could affect what Nintendo's profitability. So I think $400 is the floor for this.
And you guys don't think that they're going to have two different models, like how I guess the Wii U had the deluxe and regular, and then Xbox had series, or I can't even think of the Xbox name right now, but like PS5
Series
was,
S and X, yeah.
yeah, there you go, and then like PS5 with Slim and discless or whatever. You think it would just be straight one?
I would argue that the Switch 2 would be more in competition with a Series S, and even though Series S gets regular 0 numbers.
I could see the memes now. It's like, what do you mean the Switch 2 is diskless?
Exactly.
But
I think Nintendo wants to reduce confusion as much as possible. So there's gonna be one SKU for this.
I'll bring up 2 points though. The first is like the economy kind of sucks for a lot of people right now, so that's dangerous to make it more expensive. But if a lot of games are backwards compatible with this, I think Nintendo would probably be smart to try to hold one or two as like Switch exclusives. But I mean, they've done that in the past, cross-generational, not had a problem. They could have an excuse for a higher price point, and like sure, you can just play it on Switch One still. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you think so? Assuming $400 at a minimum, which sounds like we're at least in agreement on that price.
For sure.
Do you think what we know so far of the hardware, which to be fair is we don't know a whole. I mean, in terms of at least, well, I guess both the physical unit, which we do know a lot about, with a larger screen, but otherwise a form factor very similar to the Switch One, with the Joy-Cons now seemingly using magnetics instead of like physically latching on, but. Also, we have the how powerful is it angle, and there's been some debate about that recently, with one Twitter account recently like seemingly getting a little ahead of themselves, saying it's going to be really underpowered, whereas others are like, well, it's actually going to be pretty powerful, possibly up to Series S. In any case, we don't know for sure yet. Obviously, it's not going to match a PS5 in terms of power, but it may not need to. Obviously, the Switch didn't even match the generation it launched in, and that didn't even matter at all. It hasn't mattered for Nintendo in quite a few years. But do you think, though, that the price point is fair for what we may possibly be getting? And what are you expecting hardware-wise, too, power-wise?
I mean, for me, it's like, is it impressive form factor-wise for a handheld? Does it work well as a handheld? Yeah. Obviously, the second commodity of that is being also a console, and people use it that way. And what we look from people giving feedback on that is that there is a good, at least 50% that constantly uses it as a handheld, and I think for that particular audience, they will get something amazing out of it. For the people who want a console, I think the value proposition will be a bit different, and they might feel about it in a very different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like if you do one thing well, great, but if you're trying to do two things well, it gets harder. So it's like Steam Deck. I thought that was great value recently. But Switch 2, it's maybe if people don't have a 4K TV, they're going to be a bit disappointed. So,
but like when it comes to hardware, I really hope the Joy-Cons get fixed. Because I have Joy-Con drift I think 4 times. I bought the Switch Lite, and within the first week I got drift. I'm like, I'm just going to return it. So like that's one of my biggest concerns when it comes to just the hardware in general for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, like if they can fix it with Hall effect joysticks and the little things that slide on, if that's a magnet and that fixes that, because I'd see nobody using those little slide on attachments ever. So
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I actually love the idea of the Joy-Cons. I actually think it's really cool that you get 2 controllers out of the box, and just how dynamic they can be and how many different ways you can use them. On the other hand, yeah, the control sticks freaking suck. Like, I don't have a single friend that has completely functional Joy-Cons anymore. It's sad. And, yeah, Nintendo, I think, still fixes them for free. It's a pain in the butt to send them in, to get that fixed. Because you're without controllers then, potentially, for a couple of weeks.
I also think that Nintendo's will be very happy with the Joy-Con rail being gone, because it was very hackable.
Hackable in what sense?
You could actually pin down pins in the right side of the Joy-Con and hack your Switch that way.
Oh, I see. I wonder if wasn't that a flaw though that they fixed? I think with later systems.
They fixed it with the 2.0 Switch, but the damage was sort of already done. So.
Well, speaking of damage, one of my Joy-Cons didn't even stay on anymore, and I didn't do anything to it. Or it's actually, I don't think it's a Joy-Con problem. I think it's a Switch problem. Like, so maybe the having the MATA connection will help with that too, which I think would be cool, even if it's not a game changer. Like, how often are you even, I mean, it's just a neat thing, but I don't think it's really going to change anything about how you use a Switch.
No.
Here's something I'm wondering: how are they going to reveal this thing? Right? Like, what are we thinking in terms of timing? But also, what do they show off? Are they going to do a complete blowout of games? Are they going to do something similar to the first Switch? And if it is, what can they show? Like, the first Switch was magical in how they showed, like, hey, it's a brand new Zelda, and you can take it on the go. But we know that now, right? So what's this reveal going to be about?
I think it's less of a be-all and end-all moment and more iterating, hey, this is what's coming with this thing. Like, showcasing the hardware, showcasing what it can do, and then a few games with it. I think the form doesn't really matter. They need to showcase, hey, this is why you want this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I think that's going to be actually a bit of a challenge potentially, because the reason people wanted the Switch was because it was a hybrid.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone has that right now. So is it just more power that they're marketing here?
I think they need to show how easy it is to transfer everything from Switch 1 to Switch 2. Like,
That'd be
I mean,
good.
that's hoping for a lot, but like, I think that should be a selling factor of it. It's like, oh, you literally just put it next to your Switch, or you save everything up to the cloud, press a button, sign into your account, and you're done. Like, some games I know are cumbersome, and like, I just hope it's as easy as possible for me.
Well, luckily, we probably already know how that works based on the current Switch, where you move it from like Switch 1 to OLED, and it's fairly simple. Although I still get questions
except for
in
a
our
few
videos.
games.
Yeah, if you
Like,
Animal Crossing.
Every Pokemon game needs to be done locally.
Yep.
So on top of that, like, I'm hoping that they also show, oh, this is how your Switch 2 game or Switch 1 game will be on your Switch 2, and oh, maybe you have to buy like a $10 upgrade, like how they do it on PlayStation. But
No.
you think it's just gonna be like, oh, you plug it
Yeah,
in?
they already said it's backwards compatible.
But so like, but for like Metroid
Enhancements.
Prime 4 being like, do you think they'll just have one SKU for Metroid Prime?
I think the game cards will be different.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, for Metroid Prime 4, you think
Yeah.
there'll be 2 different game cards?
Yeah. If there's a Switch 2 version, then likely.
Well, my personal hope with that, if it is cross-generation, that it's all on one single cartridge, like the black Game Boy Color cartridges, you know, and you would get the enhancements on the other one. Because I think I would personally be annoyed if I bought Metroid Prime 4 on my Switch, but I have to buy a whole separate version for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Especially on the eShop too. I think that it would be one SKU. I think.
I would hope you would have
I-
one cartridge and like download any new
The,
game.
the problem
That
with,
could work
with
too.
Switch cartridges is that they don't hold that much data. And we've seen this over and over again. I think they're going to do 2 separate game cards.
Yeah, well, there is the that is part of the DLSS rumor that part of the reason why they're doing that is so that they can store, you can use smaller file sizes and still get good visuals out of it. Whether that's actually the reality or not, we'll see. So because I would imagine that they'd be able to reuse a lot of the assets. Like they wouldn't have to duplicate every asset, I would think, for Switch 2 and Switch 1. But maybe I'm wrong, or maybe
Yeah.
you can. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, in terms of simplicity, I kind of hope that's just one.
Yeah.
But what else? What else do you want to see from this reveal?
I just want to showcase like the one thing I would need to Switch 2 for, like a game. And I don't necessarily think that that's going to be Metroid Prime 4, even though we would really want it to be, because Metroid Prime 4 is kind of exciting once we know what it really is. But I don't think it's going to be like a system seller. Like you need something of the big 4 to sell a new system, and I think the most likely candidate of the big 4 is going to be Mario Kart.
Mario Kart.
I've been suggesting that, yeah, with how well Mario Kart did on Switch, like I think at the least they need it out within the first 6 months of the system. I think, but it could be a launch title.
I think if you look at the SKUs of how all the big 4 have aligned, I think Mario Kart makes the most sense.
Just for clarity's sake, the big 4 is that
is
that Zelda, Mario Kart, Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to have like something like Mario Kart and Smash, I didn't even, you guys didn't even say Smash, but to come out in the same year, so to have like 2 of those big titles come out in the same year isn't crazy, because in 2014 we got Smash and we got Mario Kart. So like for them to do something like that again, oh, Mario Kart on launch, and then later that year maybe 3D Mario, maybe Animal Crossing, that's not too crazy to happen.
No.
And you have to realize how magical 2017 was, because outside of Animal Crossing, they've hit all of them. And Animal Crossing came a few years later, but like Mario Kart, Zelda, and Mario were already there. And I think if you want to launch a Switch 2, you need one of the 4, because you need system cells.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think actually Metroid Prime 4 would be like a great companion title for launch, like that secondary title that people might pick up. I think that might be one of the best chances it has at, a larger commercial success than it has had, because it's a brand new platform.
Sure.
People are going to want to play, what looks to be, a mature title by Nintendo standards. So I think that could be a good timing. But yeah, I agree. You probably need one of the 4, and we can probably rule Zelda out. There's not going to be a brand new Zelda. The only way there could be a Zelda is if it's a remake of something else.
Yeah.
Which I think is also unlikely. So I think this time they're either going to deliver a brand new 3D Mario launch or Mario Kart and save the 3D Mario for later in the year.
That's also very well possible. Yeah, that's a sort of a bookend.
Yeah, kind of like with the Switch and Mario Odyssey, which would really help act as, I said before, like launching earlier in the year is such a good idea, but it almost gives them like 2 launches, right? You get the initial launch hype, then you get the holiday season again, especially if you pair that with a big game like they did with Mario Odyssey back in 2017. And that's a game, like, that's one of the games I want to see the most. Like, what is the next 3D Mario? And I hope that they at least tease it in this reveal trailer, because I gotta see what it is, you know? Like,
Right.
Is it a 3D World style game? Is it an evolution of Bowser's Fury? Is it a Odyssey 2, Galaxy 3? There's so many things, or something new entirely. Like, there's so many things it could possibly be, and I just gotta know.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking in this reveal, that we get a little tease of the hardware, but it's going to shift more to the games and what the system can do software-wise. Like, it's not going to be like OLED where it's just like the hardware. I think you start showing the games now, then you have like, it's already a quick, it'll probably be quick until it actually comes out. I would hope they do, and what I think, whatever the next Mario is first at launch, and have a bit more time with Mario Kart later in the year. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, because we did have a lot of, the new expansion tracks for Mario Kart. I think Mario will help push systems more in the beginning, and Mario Kart later. Just something to look forward to.
I really hope those booster course tracks do not come at the expense of development of the next Mario Kart
Probably
game.
did. And ARMS too. They cost that time. No.
I have made a whole video about this. I need the next Mario Kart to be different, because after 10 freaking years of Mario Kart 8, I need it to feel a little different next time. Whether it's, double dash mechanics, some entirely new thing, I don't care. Just give me something that feels unique, That's what I'm really hoping for Mario Kart.
Mario Kart 8 Ultra Deluxe, baby.
No!
Hey man, we're almost closing into 11 years.
That's insane.
It is insane. Like, that's like half of a lot of our audience lifespan at that point.
Oh
like,
god.
That's crazy.
Oh god.
Not quite for me, unfortunately. Anyways, so what is that? I guess what is that one game for you guys? Like, what's that hype launch game that would be like, yeah, I'm getting this system, day one? We probably all will regardless, but what is that game that would really sell you on it?
It's still Mario for me, or whatever platformer they might be working on.
I'm going with Star Fox.
Yes,
like, it's been such a long time since. I mean, and the thing is, like, over the Switch's lifespan, like, there was kind of, and I say in quotes, kind of new Star Foxes. We got Star Fox 2 finally, but I mean, kind of. We got Star Fox in, what was it? I can't even think of it. The Toys to Life game.
Oh, that Ubisoft.
Starlink.
Starlink. Yeah.
Yeah, we got Star Fox in there, but like the last original Star Fox game, and again, like technically like Star Fox Zero, that was 2016, but again, that was somewhat of a remake of Star Fox 64. So it's like, I really think like that would sell me day one. I would go out instantly buy it. Like, the thing is that they need to kind of modernize the gameplay. They gotta, I think, add multiplayer, add co-op, because that's something Nintendo is missing right now. Like, I always want to jump on Switch and play co-op games with friends, but I don't really think they have much co-op. Like, you have Splatoon, that's multiplayer. You have Mario Kart, again, that's multiplayer. But like, can you guys think of any like co-op games that jump out at you first party?
Not a lot. I mean, there are some local ones, but I guess there's Mario Wonder. That's kind of a weird, more passive co-op.
Forgotten
Splatoon
Land.
did at least have the Salmon Run.
Yeah,
mode.
Salmon Run.
But yeah, no, I like a larger focus on that. Like, imagine, going back to 3D Mario, what if you could Mario and Luigi play through the levels together or something, and each one every person has their own, perspective, of course, but they're on their own Switch.
Yeah.
So.
Nick, I would love Star Fox if they had like up to 4-player co-op going through the missions and like saving your friends or not saving your friends.
I mean, yeah, Star Fox is. Oh man, I think actually now I'm thinking about this more, Nick. Like, yeah, adding co-op to Star Fox could be huge, actually. And that could be a great way of, building a new community around the game, especially if they kind of modernize it where it's not just like, linear corridor-based missions anymore, because I think that's kind of a dated gameplay style at this point, as much as I still enjoy it. And I don't know if you saw the recent, rumblings, but apparently there is, rumors of a new Star Fox in the works right now, so...
And that's the thing, like with the co-op, like each character fills their own role. So like I want them to expand upon that like even more. Like when you play Star Fox 64, it's like, oh, Slippy like gives you tips on, is Slippy or Peppy gives you health? I think it might be
Slippy, I think.
I think Slippy gives you the health of the enemy. Peppy might just straight up
Right.
give you tips, and then
Yeah.
Falco will give you like different upgrades or whatnot. So like expand upon that even more because they have so many characters to use in Star Fox. I don't think they've used that enough, except like Star Fox Command. It's like, okay, this is the most the characters have played different in any other Star Fox game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could almost see them making like a custom character thing too, where you make your own character and then the others support you in some way.
Yep.
you could have 4-on-4 mode where one team is like Star Wolf team too.
Oh my.
Against that.
That'd be sick.
Oh
Give me
my
that.
God.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, if in an ideal world, I would prefer it to be Mario a launch title for once, but in my heart, I think it's going to be rather Mario Kart than Mario.
Yeah, I think at the latest there will be a Mario game because if we can rule Zelda out, as I said.
Yeah.
There has to be a Mario, and I'm excited to see what form that takes, whether Mario, 3D Mario or Mario Kart. Although they could throw a curveball and go another 2D Mario, like
or they
the Wii
do
U.
they do the ultimate swerve. Twilight Princess and the Wind Waker meant for Switch 2 launch.
There we go, finally! Yeah. You know what's funny? That would both be hype on one hand. On the other hand, not all that hype. It's like, you need that brand new game, right? So, especially with all the other ports we're already getting this year with Donkey Kong and Xenoblade. But we do need those games eventually, Don. I fully agree.
They could come out right when the next Okami comes out.
Yeah, there we go. Do we have any other specific hopes or predictions for the Switch 2, around the launch window?
So-
I'll throw out one Av here. Oh, go ahead.
This will be quick.
please.
Yeah, this will be quick.
No,
So the
take as
trailer,
long as you want.
I was driving this morning, and the trailer for the Switch 1, the song came up on my Spotify. And I'm like, oh, this song is
Imagine
so
Dragons?
good. No, not that one. It's for the first trailer. I think it was just like, it's called like Hey, 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 Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it is Imagine Dragons.
I
Unless
think
I'm-
I thought it was the first-
No,
Yeah,
that's
it.
Trailer?
yeah, that's not Imagine Dragons. That's completely. That was from the other trailer. It was from the Super Bowl trailer.
Was it? Okay, maybe I'm mistaken.
yeah.
Okay, so continue next.
Yeah, so like I just want a song that will kind of last with me because whenever that song comes on, I'm like, oh, Switch
Yeah.
1. I'm like, that trailer was amazing. And to go back to like them just showcasing games and whatnot, like maybe they'll showcase a new 3D Mario game and maybe they'll show maybe 5 or 10 seconds of it. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, the big thing people will make a big deal over, besides it being a new 3D Mario game, is like maybe Mario will be eating like a pizza or eating like spaghetti or something. Be like, oh my god, he's eating. Like we don't really see him eat too much, so like I don't know, it'd just be a wacky thing that would stick in my mind.
We do see him eat in the Mario movie.
Oh,
at
there
least.
you go. He doesn't like mushrooms, so.
Tom, how about you? Any specific hopes or predictions?
Just it's funny with the music. Like I think there was one with Bruno Mars recently that would probably be fitting, and one other.
Get Taylor
singer.
Swift for the launch.
Yeah, I don't know if they can do that. Nintendo doesn't have that many billions. No, wait, they probably do. Just it's tough. Like we have a Mario, and I want to see like always one experimental game, even if it might not do as well. Like if we got something like ARMS again, I would love that. Just it doesn't have to be a huge
something
title,
new.
just something fun.
Yeah, like a really polished but unique and weird
Yeah.
first-party title. Yeah.
And
ARMS 2.
F-Zero, a new F-Zero with 99 racers. That's all I ask. I mean, is that too much?
We have that right now, Tom. That
But
exists.
with better graphics, come on.
Better graphics than 16-bit. How dare you? Don, how about you? What's the specific hope or prediction?
Like, I think I gave my general thoughts on it. I do think that the trailer, if it is a trailer, needs to hit it out of the park strong, because it's sort of an uphill battle, right? Like they
Mario
need to
baseball.
they need to they need to convince people to actually buy the system and go out there. So that's my main concern. Hopefully it's soon. Hopefully we get more clarity on that in the near future. And
Yeah.
for the second, we don't even know when it's launching, right? That's also the weird part, really, about it.
That's a great question. Do you have any predictions on that?
I think it's not gonna launch in March. I think April or May.
I feel like March is almost impossible, but
I'll say March still. I'll say they're gonna try to copy Switch as much as possible to like not jinx anything. I think they're gonna try to follow it as best they can. So I still say March.
Their marketing
to that point.
the
go
marketing
ahead.
cycle is going to be 2 months.
I think
Yeah,
I think they like doing that. I think they like to shorten
Yeah.
it as much as possible, and I think they've just been preparing a long time for it.
It's possible. I mean, the Switch One already had a remarkably truncated launch schedule by Nintendo standards of 5 months, I believe, from reveal. And with the Switch 2 possibly not being that dramatically different to the Switch, it might make sense to just get out as soon as possible. And that'll also explain why we're getting so many leaks now, because the system is being manufactured. Like, it's out there, you know, like it's being ready to be shipped, I'm sure. So they could pull off a remarkably tight turnaround. Now, myself, I'm not expecting quite 2 months, assuming they announce the next few weeks here.
Yeah.
But I could see it, within 3 to 4 months. So which would be April or May.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. Like, I want March. My birthday's in March, so like if they can pull that around with the Switch One, like, please do. But I think I'm more on Andre's side. Like, I think maybe April, May, give it a little bit more time. But again, like, I'm thinking of like how soon. I know it's a little bit different because it's a phone, but like when Apple announces a new iPhone, what's the turnaround time on that? From like say like iPhone 15 to iPhone 16, is it quick?
Like a month.
Okay,
Yeah,
so like
quick,
saying this for Switch 1 and the Switch 2 isn't too crazy to have that short turnaround.
No, it's not. I just wonder with how internationally reaching, particularly Nintendo is. I wonder how much they can turn around in that short period of time. But
I think based on some rumblings that it sounds like it's been in production for a bit now at this point. So so maybe Nintendo's figured it out, but who knows, right?
Right.
We'll see. I will give one of my hopes for the system, and that is obviously that there is some kind of really cool feature that they haven't been teasing yet. My personal hope, or that they haven't, that we don't even know about yet. My personal hope is that the Switch 2 is like a reverse Wii U, where you can project from the system itself to the TV without having to use a dock, which then would enable dual screen gameplay, where they can bring back that asymmetric style of game where you can play Nintendo Land 2 on this thing, and it'll be amazing. I want my Luigi's Ghost Mansion sequel.
Wow, I totally agree with that. Like, have it so the Switch 1 can be a controller for Switch 2, and use it like we were playing Four Swords recently. Like, you could support games like that, even if they're small experiences.
Yeah, and at that point, it's like, then you can start bringing in the catalog of DS and 3DS games too.
Exactly.
Either NSO or just sell them outright. Like, I mean, because there's going to be a point where are the new games for NSO? Like, it's still a drought, it feels like. I put a list of, like, hey, I'm looking forward to these N64 games. Where's Donkey Kong 64? Where's Conker's Bad Fur Day? Diddy Kong Race and Smash Bros? Like, outside of that, I don't think there's too many first-party ones that we're missing.
No, you're right. And they've released a lot of the big ones, and the only major platforms left besides are the more recent ones, really, like GameCube, Wii, of course, and then Wii U. And I don't know if that's enough. Like, if they want to address the DS and 3DS era, they're gonna have some way to do that. Otherwise, you'll just be stuck using the system in handheld form largely. But that's also a big ask just for backwards compatibility for those systems, or being able to play those games. But I think that could change enough about the games potentially. And also, to your earlier point, Don, give us the ideal way of playing Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, where you have that inventory on your controller screen while playing the rest on the TV, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. Probably unlikely, but that's my personal hope. Or if not that specifically, something like that. Something that changes something about how you can play the games on Switch 2. You're not sure, Don?
I think it's going to be a very conventional system with a few bells and whistles.
Well, speaking of bells and whistles, I have another prediction here.
Okay.
I think that, alongside whatever main launch title that they have, they'll have, another title. Nintendo usually likes to work in pairs at the least. And I think this is an ideal time for the return of either Wave Race or Pile of Wings. These are games that almost always accompany launch hardware, and this is their chance. This is their one chance for us to get a new one. And what better way to showcase new hardware than with amazing water effects in Wave Race?
Finally, Pilot Wings Resort 2.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too crazy, but like you said, when the last Pilot Wings that came out was 3DS launch title.
Mm-hmm.
The last Wave Racer that came out was GameCube launch title.
Yeah.
Or launch window. So it's like you said, to showcase the water effects, to showcase the graphics. Like, okay, just release one of these games, and it brings out an old IP that we haven't seen in such a long time. I
just realized they could almost duplicate the reveal of the GameCube, where they had that that cut of multiple games, which included Wave Race and a new Metroid, Metroid Prime then.
Star Fox was in it too. Star Fox Adventures
Oh,
was it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Perfect.
Oh, now I have like a dream game in my head that I would like on Switch too.
What is it?
Let's hear it.
Switch Sports Resort.
Yeah, if
There we go.
if that was like also became like a huge online community-based game, like that would be really fitting.
Yeah. Especially if you can actually walk around the island this time. Give me that.
Yeah, I enjoy Switch Sports, but man, could do something with that plaza.
Yeah, I agree. How cool would it be if you could meet up with your friends like on the island and you'll like journey off together to whatever sport you want to play? Right?
That would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, we know that they were able to bring back Wii Sports, in the form of Switch Sports this time, so maybe they'll do something similar for Switch 2. Especially with them adding that, relatively late update to Switch Sports, with basketball
yeah.
recently. So, is there anything else about Switch 2 we haven't touched on yet? Tom,
Well,
you have something you want to say?
Wasn't there like a rumor at one point about kind of like Joy-Cons that would resist your movement, or was that blended in with like the magnets rumor? Like it had some sort of fluid.
There was some kind of rumor about like the Joy-Con or the control stick, I think, having some kind of... There was a patent, I think, for that. I'm not expecting that, but if they have that there, I'd want to try it, so...
Yeah, it's like the PlayStation controller, the resistive trigger at first. Like, how would this ever work? And it's like, oh yeah, it kind of does a little bit.
To that point, Tom, I will say I'm a little disappointed that based on the leaks, and I hope that there's something there I'm missing, the triggers seem to be the same still, and not the amazing analog GameCube triggers. Or even PS4, PS5's triggers,
Yeah.
so...
Yeah, but
Nick, did you have something?
Yeah, no, I can only imagine, like, when they did the Switch presentation in January 2017, when they were showcasing the ice cubes. Like, with the... I can only imagine what the feature you guys are talking about with the analog stick, and, like, he's, like, trying to resist, and he's moving his thumb, but it's, like, moving it back.
I feel like that, like, just thinking about that, like, that's a recipe for breaking Joy-Con
Yeah,
sticks.
it
I feel
is.
like they've had enough problems with those. Maybe they should sit on that technology for a little bit longer. So, anything else for Switch 2 and its launch or reveal that we're kind of thinking or predicting or hoping?
Yeah, I think, like Tom was saying before, like, I think a unique experimental game, kind of like ARMS, kind of like 1-2 Switch, that maybe it doesn't need to show off the new Joy-Cons, or maybe it doesn't need to show off the system, but again, like, those ones kind of did, and those ones were fun for what they were. So maybe a brand new IP that kind of showcases what the Switch really does, like a Nintendo Land 2. Like, I love Nintendo Land. You can only play it on the Wii U because it only works on that system. Like, I would love if they brought something like that to the Switch too.
I agree that they need something that is quick and fun. I don't necessarily think it needs to be like something like 1-2 Switch because it wasn't that good.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of something like that, as long as it's not 1-2 Switch.
Yeah.
Like, the general idea is not bad of having, like, innovative, like, multiplayer games, but yeah, the game itself wasn't that great,
Yeah.
Like, I played it once, I'm like, this is neat, I never touched it again.
Like they can do some fun stuff in the multiplayer space. Like Nintendo Cube has done other stuff outside of Mario Party with Wii Party and Wii Party U. They did some really innovative stuff with the gamepad and the Wii remote. They can do something with the Joy-Cons if they really wanted to.
And did they make Wii Play? Who at Nintendo did that?
That was just Nintendo internally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I think that was with a collaboration of outside developers too, or at least outside individual directors, which was right, or at least the case for the second one.
That was the case for Replay Motion, where everything in the
Gotcha.
game was designed by a different developer.
Yeah, that was kind of random. Neat idea. I don't know if it fully.
I do enjoy
perfectly,
Replay
but-
Motion, but it was at least interesting, and I want something in
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Yeah, done something like that. Like do something interesting with the control
I mean-
methods you're given.
Do you guys think
you
they
guys are gonna-
like tie an IP to it, or do you think it's just brand new IP?
It doesn't
with
have to
whatever kid
be
they-
an IP.
Yeah.
If it's a secondary title next to a bigger hitter, that's completely 100% fine.
I will say, yeah, thinking about this more, I mean, I think launch generally is one of the best times for a new IP.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope we get that. And by new IP, I mean not just like a variant of existing IPs like Nintendo Land, though I did love that game. Something entirely new. Like, I feel like it's something we haven't really gotten much from Nintendo recently. Like, what was the last big one? I guess it was ARMS, right? That was the last truly big new original IP, I think, right?
If you,
With, like-
I mean, do you want to count like Labo, or do you want to count what's it called, Wii Fit Adventure, or
I'm
Ring Fit
thinking.
Adventure?
I think those games are great, but those are more like I feel like those are in a different genre.
Of course.
I'm thinking like character-driven gameplay. Like
It's got to be ARMS then, right?
Yeah,
Like
gotta be ARMS,
2017.
ARMS and Splatoon, I think, are the most recent games we've had from Nintendo in a big sense. So I would love if they have something brand new like that. Maybe a new, in a genre they haven't done much in. You know, I don't know what that would be, but yeah.
I think that to that point, that team, the Mario Kart team who also made ARMS, they are capable of doing so many interesting things, and I hope they kind of show that with a new Mario Kart or somewhere else.
I hope we get better online. Now you're bringing it up. I hope we get, and we probably won't. That's what bums me out. I mean, I take that back. I hope we get that better social connection that we've already talked about. But also, I just want the online service to work better. I'm tired of getting disconnects in Mario Kart. Where if someone disconnects, or I think the host, then the whole party crashes.
Yeah.
The tournament. This might be more of a software issue than it is a hardware thing. Although I know the Switch's Wi-Fi chip is in the gray, so hopefully they improve that as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I just want. I mean, obviously the best solution would be dedicated servers in more cases. F099 shows how great online can be. When you have dedicated servers, which I'm sure they're using, and I hope that they do that for more Nintendo games.
They've been experimenting with dedicated servers under NLPN, which is not a peer-to-peer basis. Everything before that, Smash is still peer-to-peer, for example, but everything after Rise. That's why, for example, Superstars and Jamboree better because they used NLPN. So I would assume that they would use that more. They
probably would, which I think is still largely peer-to-peer, like in Jamboree's case. And that can be fine.
Yeah.
And I will say Jamboree's online is usually pretty great.
Yeah.
So if they have experiences more akin to that,
yeah.
I'm fine with it. It's when you run into, though, often like when you play with strangers online, that's where you can run into more issues.
Right.
If the host disconnects and the whole game, quits on you. So yeah.
Yeah.
Smash Brothers needs better online. Period.
Mario Kart also still uses the old server. Like they only, and this is weird. They did this randomly. They randomly updated NSO NES with NLPN recently.
Oh yeah. That's all right. Good. Well,
Yeah.
That's a step in the right direction. So, any chance we see Smash anytime soon?
Like you laugh about it, but it's like it felt like Sora just came out like last week. Like even though I think he came out like 3 or 4 years ago.
2022, right?
Yeah. I mean, like a new Smash. I'm still playing Smash Ultimate all the time. So to see a new one this quick, it's like. Personally, I don't think I need it right away, but it's going to happen at some point. Like, you don't sell over 30 million copies and don't make a sequel to whatever that is, so it's going to happen.
I do think that maybe Sakurai is currently working on something else or wrapping up something else. So I don't necessarily see it right away.
Well, so you think he's working on something non-Smash related?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been stuck in Smash Hill for 10 years. Let him ungodly do something else.
Well, wasn't he, like, Bandai Namco had those two projects, like one kind of a 2D one and one more of a 3D one, they were saying. So could he be helming one or both of those? And maybe we see
possible.
the one that's not Smash.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
assuming.
Yeah.
They were the developers of Smash, so who knows?
It's like the Kid Icarus Uprising port or event, like if that happens. So
Don't break my heart.
Yeah, I'm
I
hoping
know.
for that too.
Yeah, and I think there isn't really that much of a need for a new Smash right away because of the backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Kind of to your point, Nick. And I almost hope that I think will be fun, since ultimately it will still be totally fine on Switch 2. Maybe they'll add some enhancements. Maybe they'll add more DLC too to help even elongate its life further. I would love to see them do something a little bit different with Smash, like some kind of like spin-off type thing or a variant. Maybe we get like a Power Stone version of Smash, like that 3D type of game. That's a smaller roster, of course, but it's just something a little bit different that they can experiment within that space without compromising what Ultimate is and whatever the mainline Smash games continue to be. So.
Well, yeah, it's the same thoughts with Mario Kart. Like, do something different, please. And Smash, if you say Smash Ultimate is now like 4K and like maybe has some enhancements, or
Well, they
like,
could.
I think that'll be enough to get people back in for a bit.
For one, they could change the way that their servers work on Smash. They still haven't changed that at all.
Yeah.
Just make Smash Bros. Ultimate Rollback Edition. I will rebuy that game.
No, the selling point's gonna be all the stages are here now because they're still missing some of the stages, like
They're still missing a
Floats and
few,
stuff
you're
like
right.
that. So it's like all stages
Totally.
are here.
I still am a little disappointed too that everyone's here, but technically not, because we're still missing like one of the links as well, and another character that was replaced by a newer version. Technically different, unique characters. So that'd be cool if they could bring them back as well. But in any case, I'm being nitpicking. What was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say, I think actually, in a broader sense, I said this on Twitter a little while ago. I think that with the Switch 2, with it seemingly being an iterative console, I do think there's a bit of an uphill battle for Nintendo. A lot of people think like it's going to be a complete success no matter what. And I think out of the gate it will be, but I think sustaining the momentum is going to be the tricky thing for Nintendo.
Yeah. That's what I'm kind of hoping for with this reveal. They kind of need to nail that part out of the park, because you need to incentivize people. You don't have the unique selling point anymore you had in 2016, 2016. You need something that gives people hope or incentive to go out and buy one.
Right.
It's like this same... Go ahead, Andrew.
No, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like the same issue that like Sony's running into with the PS5, right? Like a lot of people are still playing on PS4 because you can still play... 80% of the PS5 games on PS4. It's like,
Fortnite's on PS4.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, why would I need to pressure myself to get the new console? So I think they're gonna have that challenge for a little bit.
For sure.
Especially for anyone, the millions of people that bought a Switch in the last few years, like they may not want to upgrade right away. And I think, with the Switch possibly getting, a lower price point in the future, that's even less incentive to pay more for a system that looks largely the same.
So I also don't think that the people who bought a Switch in the last few years will be looking that much on the internet for a Switch 2.
Yeah.
Because most users buy on year basis 4 to 5 games, and they still have plenty of backwards library that they can go through. I think for the people who want to buy a Switch 2 in the first few months, there are people like us.
Well, I'll argue too. They didn't do Switch Pro. We just got OLED. A lot of people didn't buy the OLED, so you got a lot of people who probably haven't bought a Switch in over 4 years, and they will be more willing to buy it than if they did buy a Switch Pro.
Yeah, it's interesting because the most consistent seller right now, and that's why I think they should get rid of it, is the Switch OLED. It's the most consistent seller right now of the 3 models.
Yeah.
So throwing some units back to those 2 models and incentivizing people who wanted an OLED originally to go to Switch 2 is actually the smarter move.
You know what? Thinking about this more, what I think they would do is they would discontinue the main Switch, the original Switch, make the OLED at that $300 price point, and then have the Switch 2 separately. I feel like personally it would be weird to get rid of your better model of the system, because it's not better just with the screen, but also the battery, the kickstand, and
the battery is also in the Switch Lite and the regular Switch. So the battery is not really the issue. It's purely having different incentives. If you have the OLED and the Switch 2, they look very similar in design. I think you would get rid of the OLED.
It would be weird though if the Switch 2 didn't have an OLED screen.
Yeah.
Rumors is it won't. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of leaning toward them keeping the OLED and getting rid of the original, because the original is just really old at this point.
So if they do that, then do you have the light at 200, right? Do you bring down the OLED to 300?
Yes, yeah.
And you get rid of just the regular model, and then you have the Switch 2 at 400?
That seems pretty clear to me. And kind of to this point too, I almost wonder, regardless of how well Switch 2 sells or not, depending on how Nintendo treats this, as I've been suspecting perhaps this will be more of a soft generation, it may not even matter how well Switch 2 really sells by itself. Could just be an extension of the Switch family, it'll still, not saying it won't have exclusives, especially more as time goes on, but it may just be that Nintendo's just happy selling games whatever platform it is, they don't care as long as they're making money. And having Switch 2 as an option for those who do want to upgrade or enter the ecosystem for the first time, I don't think Nintendo would really care what system you have.
No, not really. But I do think from a probable cost perspective, I do think one of the models needs to go off the regular lineup.
I agree, especially just to reduce confusion too. That would be 4 Switches, that's a lot. And not just that too, retailers aren't going to want to stock 4 different variants either, I think. They're going to want to make room for...
When you think about the 3DS, there was so many options for that. You had the new 3DS, the XL, the 2DS, the new 2DS. Like there was so much. Yeah, exactly. That's I think the number one thing they're looking for going into this is we don't want confusion. We don't want Wii to Wii U. We want people walking in the store and they know what they see right away.
Exactly. Totally. Is there anything else about Switch 2 we need to discuss? Whether it's hopes, specific titles you want to see, specific ideas for a title, anything with the hardware, anything else before we move on to the final section here of 2025.
Did we mention like backwards compatible Joy-Cons? Is that a thing they're going to be doing?
There was so funny you mentioned this, Tom. There was a rumor yesterday that the dev kits that some developers are actually using the original Joy-Cons because they don't have the newer Joy-Cons yet for the dev kits, at least some of them, suggesting that there may be backwards compatibility, which I hope, because you kind of presumably need that for some games like Ring Fit Adventure.
I'm gonna say there is now a two-way accessory for Joy-Con recharging without the need for a Switch. I think they've done it in preparation for Switch 2.
So you're saying that new accessory they just released?
Yeah.
That timing was awfully sus, wasn't it?
Yeah, why would you else release the Joy-Con grip without the Joy-Con grip?
Yeah. The whole thing was so weird. Exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
And most importantly, can I use my 25-year-old GameCube controllers on it at this point?
Yes,
you better
you
be
can.
able to.
Yes,
I cannot play Smash without the GameCube controller. So
yeah, I was playing Mario Party with friends. We're like, wait a minute, you can use GameCube controllers on this? I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I got an adapter. All you just plug it in. It's like it works,
awesome.
no problem.
Yeah.
That's the best way to play. So I hope so, because I also just don't want to have to rebuy a bunch of Pro controllers again as well. Like if those, which works to Nintendo's benefit, but they want us to rebuy that stuff. But I hope that we don't. And there is precedent with the Wii remotes being used on the Wii U. So
that's one of my questions. Will they do a new Pro controller?
I think
they
would.
will.
Yeah, I think they would in some way. Like
Just changing the sticks and that's it?
There were some rumblings, again, I don't know how accurate they were, of there being like new paddles almost, I believe, or new buttons on it, which I could see. Maybe not as a primary input, but as something mappable. Kind of like how I think Steam Deck has something similar.
Yeah, Steam Deck has two buttons where I guess your middle finger is and your ring finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
But before we move on, Andre, I have one more thing, because over the years it's definitely slowed down. Just both Amiibo support and Amiibos in general. Like I think last year they came out at the very end, the Splatoon ones, maybe in September to celebrate the final Splatfest, which those ones were awesome. And then throughout the rest of the year, did we just get like the Xenoblade ones?
Yeah.
I think that was it. That's the thing. Like over the years, and even the Smash ones were drawn out for such a long time. It's like I hope not only because again I'm downsizing my Amiibo collection and I hit all the Smash ones, so I'm happy with that. But it's like I hope that they bring back some form of Amiibo support, because I feel like it's gone kind of out the window. It's like you buy it, maybe it works for the game, maybe you get one item and that's it. They call it a day.
Right.
I don't necessarily think they're not going to make more Amiibo. I think at this point they made every Amiibo that they have to, or were obliged to. I don't necessarily think they're going to make much more Amiibo in the future.
Yeah, I guess it just depends how much of a market there is for it. But I think, so, based on the reduced amount we've seen recently, as you were saying, my guess would be that they're just not selling as well as they did before. And also, Nintendo doesn't feel like they probably don't feel like they need to rely on it anymore. Like they started Amiibo when they needed additional revenue streams beyond just purely games.
Yeah.
And now they're still exploring that in other spaces, obviously. But I don't know if Amiibo's quite the way forward for them still.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it'll support Amiibo. Like it'll probably still support all your existing collection, and I could still see occasional new ones. But I don't think it's gonna be a major point moving forward.
You also have to realize that since that time, they now also have 3 stores in Japan. They're about to open a second store in America, and maybe sometime, hopefully, sometime in Europe in the future would be nice.
So do you guys think that they'll release like one with Metroid Prime 4? Like, will they release like just a Samus one, or for like Mario Kart? They haven't done a Mario Kart one. Like, will they release like just Mario on a cart?
They don't really have an incentive to do they?
I guess, yeah, when you think about it, because like even when like Echoes of Winsome came out, like there was no Zelda, like toy like Zelda amiibo, and I don't think they didn't release anything with
that. Would have made a lot of sense too.
I think they're just Nintendo can only focus on so many things, and just right now they're not doing it. Maybe after the Switch 2 launch, maybe they'll think about bringing them back in again. Like, I think they don't want to divide the focus too much. They just want you buying the hardware. They don't want to say like, oh, there's other stuff like these toys you can buy too, as well as the games and new controllers. I think they might stop for a bit and maybe they'll bring it back 2026.
Maybe, but there is also the point too, and I don't know how much it really matters, but like, you know, with the Wii U being a home console, it made sense you could have a collection of Amiibo nearby. With seemingly, I think at least half or 40%, I forget what the percentage was. Most, you know, a lot of people use the Switch portably mostly, and that makes Amiibo way less convenient. You know, you're not gonna haul your entire collection with you. I had a whole freaking cardboard box this big with all of my Amiibo. I still didn't even have them all, and I'm not hauling that with me everywhere I go. You know?
Yeah, you're not putting your Mario Amiibo in your pocket.
Yeah, like an Amiibo belt you wear with all the Amiibo.
Hey man, they were also supported on the new 3DS.
Yeah,
that is true.
True.
Hey, the Batman utility belt with Amiibo.
Yeah. I feel like Amiibo is like, I think its heydays are definitely behind it at this point.
Yeah, I mean the whole of Toys to Life is pretty much dead. Amiibo is the only one survivor, which is funny because they were
they were even coming out toward the tail end of that already. They're lucky they survived as well as they did. So.
Well, it's also because that people see it more as statues of their favorite Nintendo characters.
I think everything goes around in circles again. Like Nintendo had some sort of AR game that you like look at an Amiibo, then all of a sudden your character started jumping around, coming to life. Like they would do it in a second. So.
Are you saying we're getting DK Jungle Bongos back?
Yes.
DK Bongos, let's go.
Anything else for Switch 2 you want to bring up? Anyone? Any other points we haven't touched on? Yeah,
real quick, a lot of indies maybe sometimes hold out their games for the start of a new system. Like they can release it on Switch 2 first and then on other platforms after a bit of a window. So I'm excited to see if anyone's doing that, if we'll get some huge indie games or unique, innovative ones.
That'd be good. Always a good thing, yeah. I mean, we had Snipper Clips at the Switch's launch, which was supported by Nintendo, but largely indie, and that's, they get something similar here, perhaps, so... Especially, I would love if they did more collaborations too, like they did with what was that Zelda rhythm
Crypt
game?
of the Necrodancer.
Thank you. Yeah, something like if they do more cool stuff like that. I kind of, that's what I kind of want to see from Switch 2 in general. I want to see Nintendo kind of like being weird again. Like that's what I liked about looking back. Obviously, living through is a little different than looking back. But Nintendo was pretty weird in the Wii U era, GameCube era as well. Whenever Nintendo's like off their main footing, that's when they're at their weirdest. And they're obviously not at that point yet. Like they're doing still very well. So I don't know if we're going to get that this time. But
I would argue that they were weirder on the 3DS eShop than they were ever on the Wii U eShop.
Yeah, probably. I'd agree. They had like Dylan's Rolling Western on that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That was a fun game. More unique.
Yeah, they've not done that very much during the Switch era. The only ones they did was like collaboration with indies, and there were like 3 of them, where indies made the game, but Nintendo footed the bill. Like Good Job, The Stretchers, and Snipper Clips. Like if they did that more, I would be down with that. Where they present a concept to a developer and they run with it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, no, I like that idea. Like, just more collaborations in general. But you did remind me of one thing. Like one thing we did lose with the Switch is that kind of smaller scale, medium, size game from Nintendo. Pushmo, Dylan's Rolling Western. I'm sure NES Remix, though we had the one recently.
Even high-end tier ones, we never got a Widom Heaven on Switch.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I would love to see. I wish Nintendo, moving forward, would experiment more. I guess with basically budget range, right? Like this is a $20 tier, and it's just something kind of fun and different, and gives them a chance to experiment more. Which it seems like they're sometimes afraid to because they want to guarantee that their next game is going to be a 3 million plus seller. So
yeah.
Speaking of budget range, like will all Switch 2 games be $70?
Oh no, no. Not all games will be $70.
I don't think all games. I think Nintendo's AAA ones will be though.
So like we're gonna hit Mario Kart 70. We're gonna hit 3D Mario 70. You guys think?
Yeah, I think so.
What about Pokemon?
Yes.
like this is whole forgotten in discussion where Tears of the Kingdom was 70, but Europe it was already Breath of the Wild was already 70 at launch. It's still not 70 years later.
It was like 90 in Canada.
You and me were lucky.
So I already seen this coming for quite a while, and then with Tears, then it came back. I was like, maybe this will happen again.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, next Zelda will be 70. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was Nintendo testing the waters. And with how successful Tears of the Kingdom was, I think they're going to treat that as their new kind of premium price point for their big titles. So I don't think, like, the ports, like, anything like Donkey Kong Country Returns, I don't think that would be at 70. Though, isn't that game already 60 on Switch? So,
yeah,
it's already basically full price. In any case, yeah, so that is one unfortunate downside, is just the inflation of everything.
I think they will play around with different prices again, like they did with Switch.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna ask one more time. Any final points about Switch 2?
No.
All right. How excited? Based on how little we know so far, well, how much and how little we know of the platform, what's your hype at for Switch 2 at this point in time? From 1 to 10, I gotta hear it. Tom, what are you at?
8.
8. Wow. Nick.
I'm like a 7 maybe.
7. Okay.
I say that like with a sigh, but I'm like, yeah, I just gotta see the games really.
Yeah,
So like it's like
that.
just talking about the console. It's like if we don't see the games, it's like, oh, once I see the games, I'll be like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
But right now, yeah.
My
Go ahead,
8
Tom.
is like visualizing what the games could be, so it's not mostly on the console.
How about you, Don?
On the basis we know virtually nothing, and I'm still pondering a lot about it. It's like a 7.
Okay.
But it's edging to an 8, but it's a 7.
I get that. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's going to depend entirely on the games. Because strictly based on what we know so far, I'm at like a 3. I honestly had nothing of the Switch 2 has excited me yet. Like, more power is the thing I care about the least. Like, I still go back and play Bowser's Fury, Odyssey, Breath of the Wild. Like, these games still look good. Obviously, they're not top of the line compared to Gen X or Series X or PS5, but they look good enough. And not that I don't want even better looking games, but like it's not going to make them play better, right?
No.
So based on what we've seen, also I'm not a huge portable gamer these days outside the analog pocket. I always play my Switch docked at home, so that same form factor again doesn't really excite me. So I'm gonna have to see though what else they're doing here. If there's any kind of like community-based stuff, the games that they release, that will push me way up higher beyond, hopefully beyond my 3, 4. So
3.
yeah,
That's also what I'm worried about, right? Because as somebody who plays handheld, that is actually exciting because of the form factor. Because I like the Steam Deck, but it's still pretty bulky.
It's huge.
I think with the portability for Switch, I still use my Switch as a portable to this day because of how good the form factor is. If the form factor still maintains on Switch 2, great. But I know for people who don't play almost zero on handheld mode, what does that mean for them? They need the harder convincing, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Because if you're not a handheld gamer, the Switch 2 doesn't have anything to offer you outside of Nintendo games. And that's what's gonna have to sell you on it. Because otherwise, if you care about power, you're gonna be playing on PC, Steam Deck, PS5, or Series X. Maybe not Steam Deck, but if you want to play PC games portably.
For sure.
So yeah, and that's why I do think they have more of an uphill battle this time, because they don't have that novelty quite as much anymore. They do in the strictly the console competitive space, but again, with Steam Deck already out there, with the Switch itself being out there, it's it might be a harder sell for Switch 2. But hopefully the games are what pushes people over the edge here.
For sure.
Obviously, that's what always matters. I want to talk about outside of Switch 2 for right now to move on. Anything else we could expect from Nintendo in 2025? Whether it's something else hardware related. We had the surprise announcement of Alarmo last year, app based. Anything physical. Like theme park expansions. Myself, I'll throw it out there. Legitimately the thing I'm most excited for right now, even though it's not coming out this year, but we will probably see it this year, is the Mario Movie 2. I am so freaking stoked for what this is. I cannot wait for this movie, and I cannot wait to see the first trailer, dive in, point out all the secrets for it. That's the thing I'm most excited for, because honestly, the Mario Movie is one of the things I've enjoyed the most from Nintendo in probably the last 3 years.
When do you expect the first trailer to happen?
I wouldn't be surprised. It's probably going to be similar to the first movie, I would think, which is October, I think?
Around New York Comic Con?
Is that when Comic Con is?
The first trailer was during New York Comic Con.
Okay, yeah. That's when they had the direct, right, for it?
Yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they follow a similar model, because the movie's coming out in the same time frame as the first one, so they'll probably do the same thing here.
Do they have a
Makes sense.
release year for it at all?
Oh yeah, they gave the release date. It's like
Yeah.
April 6th, 2026, or April
Yes.
4th, somewhere around there.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it is soon now. I mean, we're already in 2025, so
Yeah,
it's like,
it's next
we-
year.
we- we can get a trailer anytime now. So
Yeah, I think New York Comic Con is your best bet, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm also, I could speculate all day what it's going to be. I'll put a whole video about it, but of course, I'm hoping we'll get like some other new Mario characters, like Daisy, perhaps, or something. So, and that's like once they, and I wonder if they're gonna do the same thing they did last time, where they announced. Probably not, because we know a lot of voice casts now. But there will be some new characters, and maybe they'll announce the voice cast, and they'll set the internet ablaze again. When they announce Aquafina's voicing Daisy or something.
I'm hoping for Bowser Jr. I don't know who's gonna play Bowser Jr., but that's my hope for the movie.
I want the Koopalings.
Yeah,
I need the Koopalings.
They would fit so well in a movie. They're just so goofy, so it's like, yeah, I
Right.
think they're fitting for a movie.
They can really play off each other really well, I think, too. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if Bowser Jr. was played by Jack Black's kid?
That'd be amazing, actually. That'd be pretty clever.
Yeah.
So how about you guys? What else are you hoping for from 2025 from Nintendo?
I mean, I would like a European store of Nintendo, please.
You really want that.
Yeah, I mean, I love the ones in Japan. I've been there multiple times, and New York I've been also a few times. And I look forward to seeing what they do with the one. Where's the other one in America coming? In San Francisco?
Yeah, San Francisco, yep.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing how what that one is like. But God, do they need? Because they did a bunch of pop-up stores for the Tokyo and Kyoto ones throughout Europe last year. They need a
That's
permanent location. I think it's sort of time after doing Toon America 3 in Japan.
I'm surprised they've been as slow as they have with the rollout and how successful the stores have seemingly been, at least.
Yeah.
Because you would almost think they could duplicate like an Apple light structure, not have as many stores as Apple, but
Yeah.
have them in more like bigger cities, like the New York one is always like a tourist hotspot, it seems.
For sure.
For Nintendo fans at least. Yeah, it seems like a good way of just getting your brand further out there, which is Nintendo's whole thing these days. That's why they're making movies now, because
Yeah.
they don't want a repeat of the Wii U era where they have nothing else going on. They want people to be able to find their products and be engaged with their IP in any number of ways.
I mean, they kind of stopped doing smart applications altogether, didn't they? Outside of Nintendo Music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think stores is their new thing.
it might be.
Yeah.
Nick, how about you? Any hopes for Nintendo outside of Switch 2?
Yeah, so I just thought of it because you said the Mario movie trailer. I'm like, it's not too crazy to think about. Maybe I am crazy about it, but them expanding into TV shows or more into those shorts like they've done in the past, because they did the Kid Icarus ones, they have the Pikmin ones, they have one Star Fox one. It's like maybe
Which is
like 12 or
great.
15. Yeah, I love it. It's
Yeah, it was
maybe like
fun.
12 or 15 minutes long. It was like, oh, we're just gonna make this before Zero comes out. But like, I hope that they go in that direction. It's like, oh, maybe they'll partner with Amazon or Netflix and they'll have an entire TV show focused on. Maybe they won't do the new movie for Donkey Kong. Maybe they'll do like a Donkey Kong like TV show or something like that. Even though we've had Donkey Kong TV shows in the past, so.
That's a really good point, because Nintendo relatively recently acquired that
They did.
media studio, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
they call. Did they rename it to Nintendo Movies or something? I think, or Nintendo Pictures. I forget.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, we could see the fruits perhaps of that this year if they are going in that direction, and I think that would make so much sense, because especially with like something smaller scale like a TV show, that could be a great way of exposing people to like the lesser known IP like Star Fox, as you mentioned, and that as I recall that anime episode we got, the cartoon, it even ended on like a cliffhanger,
Yeah,
right? Like
it
we're never
does.
gonna get the resolution of that.
And the thing is, like you said, the smaller titles, like Star Fox is all about voice acting, right? Like you pop in the game and the characters are talking constantly. So Star Fox fits so well for a TV show, if not a movie.
Oh man, I love that idea. I hope we get that. Tom, how about anything you have?
No, I
hopes
think
for?
a TV series is on the right page for something they haven't done yet. Because I mean, we just had the theme park expansion last year. We got the museum, Alarmo. Like maybe we see that online test that come to fruition as something that everyone can play for longer.
That's
But-
so weird, by the way.
I know.
They haven't said
That was, like,
anything
the
about
weirdest
it
thing.
since it happened.
I hope they keep doing like small little things like that. I see it mostly as a focus on Switch 2 this year, so probably not a hardware thing. So yeah, probably just something like some sort of experimental software or like if they had a better tie-in with phones, like that's something I'd like to see with Nintendo this year.
Yeah, I'm down for anything else they want to surprise me with, including more theme parks. They're opening up their third version of Super Nintendo World this year at Epic Universe. I believe that's opening in May, which would be cool in and of itself. It's basically going to be the biggest version of that park. They will be most similar to the Japanese one.
Yes.
They'll be opening with 3 rides, including the Donkey Kong minecart ride, which you just rode recently, Tom, or Don.
Don did.
Which is exciting.
Yes.
And but I'm not expecting much in the way of like other theme park news this year. I think it'll be possibly a next year, 2026 type thing.
I do expect them to include maybe a few more new mini games in that particular version of the park.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so far, I think even the Hollywood version has like a unique mini game or two compared to Japan. I know it has a few more than Hollywood does. So yeah, it would be. I hope they provide even more reason to visit all 3. But I'm still hoping for like a Luigi's Mansion attraction, maybe announced next year. We'll see. Beyond that, though, talking about all the movies and TV show stuff, is there any chance we learn of anything more of the Zelda movie this year? Like, is there a chance we can announce casting or a trailer?
I think we'll see a bunch of leaks about it not going well because it's Sony Pictures.
Oh God, I hope not. That'd be so depressing.
I mean, the guy who was producing it recently made the Borderlands movie, didn't he?
But the guy directing it recently made the Apes movie, which is really good, or pretty good.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I was thinking of them announcing the cast this year, but it's like, do they want the Mario movie to be overshadowed by it? Like, again, like they're 2 totally different things. They'll be running at their own times.
Yeah.
But I think if the internet made a big deal about the Mario movie cast, like I think we're gonna make a big deal over who's playing Link or who's playing Ganondorf or Zelda.
I think if it's solely up to Nintendo, they'll likely announce it when they feel like it.
It's like we might hear rumblings about it, but Nick, on that note, I think that's kind of a strategy. Like, release the cast first, like before actually seeing them, so like everyone can work it out of their system and then see how it is. It's like the Wii name, right? Like, say the name and then like finally show the actual product after, once everyone's kind of like got it out.
Yeah, there's going to be no perfect cast for Zelda that everyone agrees with, right? No matter what, it's going to cause a firestorm online, which honestly might be to the movie's benefit. I mean, it didn't hurt Mario any, obviously. It gets people talking, people are engaged with the movie. So I think, I don't think there's a chance to see a trailer this year. I don't know how far in development the movie even is, but I do think there's a strong chance we actually do find out casting decisions, because if they don't announce it officially, it will be leaked.
Yeah, it definitely
and they
will.
probably won't get ahead of that. So.
And the thing is, with the cast for the Mario movie, they just said it all in a direct, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're like halfway through the direct, and Miyamoto came out, right? And he's like, "Here's the cast." We're like, "Wait, what?"
That's a good point, actually. So maybe, I wonder how they would do it for Zelda. Maybe it could be part, like, we get concept art for it too, maybe. Like, hey, here's what you can expect to see, and then here's the cast we have for it, But, yeah. Alright, so that, so far, it covers, I think, pretty much everything in 2025. Is there anything left, guys, that we missed or haven't touched on, or anything else we want to bring back up?
I got one thing after Tom.
Okay, my question first. Do you think the Switch 2 comes out in a direct or just a very short sizzle reel trailer, like the reveal trailer?
It could go in a number of ways. I think that at least it needs to be strong in their messaging. That's the only thing I really care about.
Well, to that point, then, I think a sizzle reel or whatever, like the first Switch, makes the most sense. Like, the shorter you can make it, the better, probably. Yeah. That way people don't have to, not everyone's going to watch a 10 to 20 minute video besides the hardcore Nintendo fans. You need people to, like, understand what this is immediately. And I think going with a strategy similar to the first one makes a lot of sense. You have the initial reveal, then you have a blowout later on.
Yeah, and first impressions are such an important thing. Like, everyone's going to run with this no matter which way they see fit. So it's like, keep it short, keep it condensed, and then we'll do the blowout in like maybe a month or 2.
Good point.
I don't think they will do like a press conference like the Nintendo Switch. I think they just do something smaller.
They might. It's possible. You never know. Nintendo isn't afraid of doing things a little differently than before, especially if if they are treating this as more of an extension of the Switch family rather than a full-on generational change that happens immediately, which I'm guessing won't be the case. But so what was your thing there, Nick? I'm curious now.
Yeah. So the one thing we didn't cover which I mean, it's gonna happen. It's third-party support for
Yeah.
the Switch too. Like the first year of the Switch 1, like I mean, like I don't think I was playing many third-party games. Like primarily it was maybe indies and mostly the first-party stuff. But like I'm looking at games that are either out right now and would be great on the system or stuff in the future. Like I'm big into fighting games, so I play like a lot of Tekken. I play a lot of Street Fighter. So it'd be great to have those on the Switch too. And I play Tekken on the Steam Deck and it runs great on there. So games like that, like I want like stuff like Marvel Rivals. Like I said, I've been playing a lot of that. Elden Ring I think is possible. Cyberpunk maybe. Red Dead. And then again, the last one, speaking of Red Dead, like GTA 6. Like I don't know if it's going to happen, but again, all the other ones I think are more plausible than GTA 6.
Yeah, I think
that
you're
one
right.
that one might be a stretch. I agree. Yeah.
I would like Baldur's Gate 3 on the Switch too.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously a big reason some people are excited for the Switch 2 is that it will presumably lead to a even stronger third-party support, at least in terms of parity with the other consoles, and especially based on my limited understanding of the technology they're using, it seems like that should be pretty attainable in most cases outside of the biggest AAAs like maybe GTA 6 as you were saying, or quadruple A's, whoever they are now, quintuplet A. But I will say for myself, as one who plays at home, like I couldn't really care less, because if for any third party, I'll just play it on my Series X and PlayStation 5, where it'll probably look better still than it does on Switch 2, unless the Switch 2 ends up being purely magic. So for me, it's the first-party games that really matter most. But for a lot of people, especially if it's your only platform, if you're planning for it to be, then yeah, that makes absolute sense for why you'd want to be strong enough in order to play those games. Because I know people, for instance, a game I play a lot is Dead by Daylight, and it is available on Switch, which is great, but I hear complaints of people that play that game on Switch where it just runs like complete butt, It's like half the frame rate, it slows down constantly, and that's something we'll hopefully get away from with Switch 2, at least for a time, until the next generation rolls out, where we're getting into the same situation possibly as we did with the Switch 1, Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, like to build on that, like hopefully like Unreal 5 works perfectly fine on it and stuff. So
I think there was rumor, was it during the GDC a year and a half ago? I think wasn't that one of the rumored showcases of Unreal 5 along with like Breath of the Wild running at 60 frames per second, 4K or something. So yeah, hopefully. I mean, it should, right?
So, and
Sure.
also, speaking of third party, when do you guys think Call of Duty is going to come? Because didn't Microsoft promise, and they said, like, we'll bring Call of Duty to, like, Nintendo platforms? Like, didn't they say that during their whole...
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. They didn't specify which. Yeah, probably, as soon as they can. I have no idea what the release cadence is right now. Didn't one just come out recently?
Yeah, Black Ops 6, I think, came out maybe, like, a month or two ago.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
But even stronger, they signed an agreement with Nintendo to do that,
Oh, that's right. They did. Yeah, that's right.
and
So
they didn't release Black Ops 6 on Switch, huh?
you know what? That's going to be in the sizzle reel. 100%.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Lock it in.
and it's not at the game's launch, right? So it doesn't really affect their
I mean-
bottom lines.
I mean, the good thing about Nintendo's current situation is that they have a complete stronghold right now in the Japanese market.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy how much better Switch is selling than the PS5 there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a massive advantage they have. So, you bring even more third-party games to the platform, which can only help bolster that even further. So.
I mean, it's why they bought the studio who did Hogwarts Legacy on Switch. That's the reason why they bought it, because having more studios that can bring third-party games to a Switch 2, particularly with a Japanese audience in mind, is going to be very helpful for them.
Right. Totally. All right, well, to wrap it up here real quick, I want to ask, what are the two things you're most excited for in 2025? They can be things we either know about or don't. They can be entirely hype-based. We'll just, give a disclaimer saying that this one is, obviously just purely imagination right now. But in theory, what are the two things you'd be most hyped for this year? Don, let's start off with you.
I think from the things we know, I'm very excited about playing Xenoblade X again. I think
Okay,
I
good.
love that game a lot, and seeing new content just with the original one is making me very excited for that.
Yeah.
Also, it's one of the last thresholds that still needed to be on Switch, and it feels like such a long time coming. After that feels sort of done. Then for the unknown, I kind of want to see what Mario Kart looks like on a Switch
Yeah.
2.
That's a good one. That's a big one. All right, how about you, Tom? What are your 2 things you're most hyped for potentially this year?
Well, still Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and whatever the new game from Nintendo in Tokyo is.
Yeah, that team's amazing. I can't wait to see. We were just playing Jungle Beat over the weekend, and that game still holds up.
It's
So
so good.
it's so good. How about you, Nick? What are your 2 things?
All right, so the one I know, I'm gonna go with Pokemon ZA because I really kind of skipped out of Pokemon on the Switch generation because I was just not happy with it performing, and just I was expecting a lot more out of the Pokemon company with those games coming to like a home console. So
Right.
I have higher hopes now for Pokemon ZA. That's what we know of. The thing that we don't know of, which I feel like it's guaranteed, is a 3D Mario game. And what I'm hoping for the direction to go in is kind of like a Sonic Generation, Shadow Generations kind of deal, where it's like the best of Mario. Knowing Nintendo, I feel like they can pull it off, but like you go to different worlds and it takes places in different games, so it's not just 3D, but it's also 2D. And like maybe like you can change the perspective, or it's like, oh, now the 2D level is in 3D. You're playing 3D, or you're playing like Super Mario World, like the one from Super Nintendo, but now it's like in 3D. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like they can pull it off somehow.
I would kind of love that idea because I was recently playing through the Mario Advance games for a feature I was writing, and that included the E-World of Mario 3, which basically was like just a random mishmash of all kinds of Mario elements in one, and it provided like unique gameplay that we hadn't seen elsewhere in the series, even 25 years later with even Mario Maker out there now. And I think going like just taking the idea to like just taking it to the I don't know the extreme could be amazing. So I'm there for like I just want to see. I guess I'll use as a jump into my points. Is my second most hyped thing is a Mario Movie 2 trailer. It could be my most hyped thing, but the final movie itself will probably take that spot. The trailer though, number 2. Number 1 though is whatever the heck the next 3D Mario is. We're gonna see it. I'm convinced we're gonna see it, whatever it is, whether or not it actually releases this year, though I'm sure it will. I need to know what this is, and if it's some kind of like brand new mishmash 2D 3D idea like Generations, sure, I'm there for it. If it's Galaxy 3, I'm there for it. If it's Odyssey 2, I'm there for it. Or if it's like an evolution of Bowser's Fury, which is a direction I was really excited by, I'm there for it too. So I just want to see what it looks like, and I hope, especially now in the post-Astrobot era.
I was just thinking
really,
that. Yeah, it's like
right?
after Astrobot, it's like, oh my god. Like the sky is only we can only go higher.
Also important to note is that I think soon is also going to be the 40th anniversary of Mario.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is next year or this year, 2025, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's that's nuts. Jesus, that reminds me of how old I am. Goddamn. I even swore. That's how surprising it is.
We're gonna get old Mario. It'll be like Metal Gear Solid 4. It'll just
That would
be
be hilarious.
Mario.
He just gets stuck,
Multiverse Mario.
He gets stuck in a microwave tunnel eating mushrooms that he hates. Dude, that's a character trait now of Mario's. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us here, everyone, for our 2025 discussion, predictions, hopes, expectations, whatever it is. We're going to get this, by the time you watch this, it will be hopefully real soon after we recorded it, because given how fast leaks are happening, it could be quickly dated, especially with the possible reveal of this in the very near future, of the Switch 2, I mean. So I can't wait to see it, but thanks for joining us for this discussion, and I had a lot of fun discussing everything here. Before we wrap it up, though, Nick, where can people find you at besides with your shorts on GameXplain? Where else can people follow you at?
Yeah, so like Andre said, my shorts are on GameXplain now. You can also find me at Steftendo. So it's like STEFTENDO. So like my last name, Stefanacci, and then Nintendo, I just put it together. But yeah, you can find my shorts on that channel too.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll link to that in the description below. Don, where can people follow you at?
So I do some stuff again on YouTube and on my channel as well, which is at Nintendan, as NANTNDAAN. Also on Blue Sky, on Twitter also a little bit, but there you go.
And how about you, Tom? Where can people follow or play things that you make at?
Well, if you want, you can wishlist Carpoon on Steam, the car harpooning arcade action party game.
Yeah.
Everyone should go do that. We were playing it a lot over the weekend. It's not officially out yet, hence the wish list, but it's a lot of fun, so... All right, and on that note, that is our thoughts on Nintendo 2025. We'll see how many end up coming true or not in the near future, hopefully. But with that, everyone, thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you throughout the rest of the year as we take a look at everything Nintendo has to offer. On that note, we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.